The right angle symbolizes the principle of negation or undoing. In a circle and diameter, the diameter always subtends a right angle at the circumference. If the diameter is AB and C is any point on the circumference of the circle, then AC is always at right angles to BC. The reason why a right angle symbolizes not or negation can be seen in the following example. Imagine a railway carriage on its rails, facing in direction A. This carriage has a hook with a long rope attached to it. Let us say that a strong man can pull this carriage. If he pulls in the direction that the train is facing, it is relatively easy for him to pull the carriage. But as he changes the angle that he is pulling the carriage at, with respect to the angle that the carriage is facing, it becomes more and more difficult to pull the carriage. When the carriage is facing 90 degrees to the direction he is pulling, no matter how hard he pulls, the train will not budge 1 inch in the direction it is facing. Mathematically, this is described by saying that the strong man's force has no component in the direction that the train is facing. In the context of direction of force, AO and CO have no effect on each other or cannot influence each other. AO is without CO, or AO is the negation of CO. It is also very important to realize that the right angle, which is symbolic of negation, is numerically equal to -1. The detail behind this is beyond the scope of this presentation, so we are simply going to state it. This will be sufficient to understand this discussion. You need to be very, very aware of this. So whenever two numbers differ by 1, then there must also be negations in meaning of each other. For example, if 2 means darkness, as we find in the 2nd verse of Genesis, where there was darkness upon the face of the deep, then 3, as it differs from 2 by 1, is the negation of darkness. So 3 means light, and in Genesis verse 3, God said, "Let there be light." This idea is also present in languages. A is the first letter, and it represents number 1. If an A is added to the beginning of a word, it negates the meaning of that word. For example, add an A to moral, and we get amoral. Amoral means without a moral. Theos is the Greek word for God. From this we get atheist, which means without God. Take very careful note that atheist means without God and not against God. Negation does not mean opposite. In the geometric development of negation, we saw that it is based on direction. It is from this that the symbol for the number 1 was designed. Take the number 1 and create a mirror image. Then bring these two symbols together. At the base, we have a right angle. At the top, we have an arrow, symbolizing direction. As direction is a fundamental property of the number 1, then 1 is a path or journey, as paths, roads, and journeys are based on the idea of direction. The right angle is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, and it is the Holy Spirit that takes us from the diameter of the circle to its circumference, because the diameter always subtends a right angle at the circumference. The Holy Spirit therefore leads us on a journey from the diameter to the perfection found at the circumference of the circle. Also, 1 is connected to minus. The symbols for number 1 and minus are at right angles to each other, making it abundantly clear that a right angle is associated with -1.